Hey there, business owner. Welcome to the Entrepreneur Evolution Podcast. This is our weekly episode, and I'm so happy you are here. Let's get started. Hi there, everybody. Welcome to this week's episode of the Entrepreneur Evolution Podcast. I am really excited to present this week's guest and share this interview with you. I am joined by Emily Jaenson. She is the first female general manager in AAA baseball in 20 years. Okay. So she is the general manager at the Reno Aces baseball club, and she is brilliant. She is kind. And most recently, she started a podcast, Leadership is Female. And I wanted to share this interview with you today, not only from the angle of her being an extreme trendsetter and inspiration in her space and a male-dominated field, but also to give you perspective about work and life and family and being a working parent and what it takes to truly dedicate your dream and your time and be disciplined to really deliver and do it all for yourself, your team, your family, and your community. She is brilliant, and I know you will love this time with her. Emily Jaenson is with us today. Make sure that you leave a review. I really appreciate all of your reviews. I've been hearing from a lot of you in the DMs and personally with your feedback and how this podcast is helping you and just giving you a little pep in your step and helping you feel surrounded as an entrepreneur. And I just love all of the comments. So thank you, and definitely keep those coming. If you leave a 5-star review, we'll be sure to follow up with you and give you a big thank you. If you hit subscribe, you will be automatically notified when episodes drop on Tuesdays and Fridays. On Tuesdays, I drop an interview with another entrepreneur like yourself. And on Fridays, I drop a 5-minute business tip, an Entrepreneur Express tip, and they are really, really great. We are nearing the halfway mark to 100 episodes. This whole podcast started in July, and it is just gaining momentum, and we're just getting started. So thanks for being here. Thanks for listening. Thanks for being you, and keep evolving, entrepreneur. We are so proud of you. We're proud of this community. And if you want to schedule some time and have a breakthrough session to talk about your 2021 plans, we are right now going through business edits and really auditing your business to really see where you need to invest and what resources you need to tactically invest in 2021 and how we can help you with those. I can be reached at URock at iEvolve Consulting, and we'll schedule a session to talk about you and your biz. Enjoy this episode. I'll talk to you soon. Keep evolving, entrepreneur. I am so proud of you. Hi, Emily. How are you?
I'm great, Annette. How are you? Happy to talk to you today.
Oh, I'm so thrilled that you are here. We're new friends, aren't we?
We are new friends, and I love it.
I love it too. I felt an instant connection to you. It really an instant inspiration. Your story is amazing, and everything that you are building and growing and believe in, I just completely align with. So I'm really excited you're here today to share your story with us.
Thank you. Happy to do it.
It's amazing. So Emily Jaenson is with the Reno Aces and also recently launched her podcast, Leadership is Female. So why don't we just start from the beginning? How did your career start? Catch us up to speed, and then we'll go a little deeper into what you're doing today.
Sure. So I'll try to give you a quicker version of my really crazy about 15-year career since college.
Mm-hmm.
So after university, which I switched majors like 3 times, I didn't understand how to work in sports. I thought I had to be a physical therapist. Now that you know me, I'm a creative brain. I'm a big thinker. Medicine would have not been the right choice. So ended up in advertising. I turned down a full-time salary with benefits position in the advertising industry in Chicago for an internship with the Chicago Bulls in the NBA, and worked in ticket sales for 8 months in my internship, selling season and group tickets, 80 calls a day. Really my roots in sales were grown with the Bulls. Interesting thing about that story is I was one of 14 interns, new college grads who were all fighting for 2 positions at the end of this long internship. I finished first in group sales, but I did not get a full-time job. And it was my first experience with failure. And, growing up, I'd been a successful athlete. I'd gotten good grades. Things had just, when I worked hard, things came for me. And this was the first time that I worked really hard at something and I didn't get the prize at the end of the time. But it ended up being, like most things, one of the best things that ever happened to me. I left the sports industry for several years and worked for a major nonprofit in Chicago doing partnerships, event planning, strategic alliances, with a small office with a really big budget. And so it gave me a lot of room to learn a lot of things really quickly in my early 20s. And I think it really, laid the next foundation of my career. So worked in nonprofit work. I had my own marketing agency for a short time, back to nonprofit, landed in Reno, met the president of the Reno Aces, or the AAA affiliate of the Arizona Diamondbacks. By this point, I had about 8 years experience in marketing and partnerships. And the only role available at the time, this was back in 2013, was a role as an account executive in corporate partnerships. And typically, that's a great role to be offered with 2 to 3 years experience. So I had to make a decision at that point. Do I really want to get back into sports? Do I really want this job? Because if I do, I'm going to take a step back in title and comp, but I probably have a pretty good opportunity to make my own path. So I decided that after much negotiation and a couple of sleepless nights, I would take the job. And I made a promise to myself that this might be where I started, but it was not going to be where I finished. 2 years and a baby later, I was promoted to vice president of corporate partnerships. And I think what that shows is, hard work and focus and making your goals clear to your boss will help reveal, that path for you. So one more twist before I got to my current position. My husband got a job offer in Houston, Texas, and we decided to move. I didn't know anybody in Houston. Like, the first time I had been there was when we got off the plane to buy a house.
Wow.
And quickly started networking, got some incredible opportunities. I worked in marketing for a women's athleisure wear brand. I worked for the Harris County Sports Authority on some major events in the city. I worked for the #1 hospital in Texas, helping them integrate their sports partnerships. Had another baby, all in this 2 years time span. And all that while, I kept in touch with the Reno Aces. I would call and tell them about things I was working on. Hey, I read this article. I've got this idea. Have you thought of this? I just stayed interested. I was invested in the team, even though I was no longer with it. I wanted them to be successful. So then I get a phone call, which wasn't out of the blue, because I was speaking to the president about quarterly. And he said to me, hey, I've got position open, general manager of the Reno Aces. We want to hire a GM. And I just need to figure out how to get her to move back here. And that her was me.
I just got chills.
Yeah.
That's so exciting. Yeah.
Thank you. So, we made the pros and cons list, literally, and there were some big cons standing in our way. One, we had just built a house. 2, I had a 6-month-old child, a second 6-month-old child. And my husband didn't have an opportunity in Reno. But looking at the bigger picture and what we knew we could do for ourselves and for our family, for me, for women, because along with this title came a little asterisk at the end that said I would be the first female general manager in AAA baseball in nearly 20 years.
Boom.
And
there it is. So proud of you. It's amazing.
Thank you. And that tipped the scales. At that point,
Mhm.
we realized let's take the leap. Let's move back, take the job. Things are going to work out, and they've worked out beautifully. So
Mm.
that's where we are today regarding the ACEs.
So what year was that when you took the job?
So it was 2018. So
2018.
2.5 years into my role as general manager.
And tell me how's it going, and then we'll lead into the podcast, because the podcast is amazing.
Sure, thank you. It's going great. It's in my role as general manager is to be the face of the ACEs, and what that means is I've got to be representing our team in this community, making connections for partnerships, for our investments in the community, and our support of what Northern Nevada is trying to achieve. And that's gone really well. Of course, 2020's absolutely thrown a wrench in those plans with the pandemic and ultimately a canceled season,
Right.
of all of minor league baseball. Major League Baseball, as we saw, was able to get off a very, very short season this year and award a world championship title. But unfortunately, AAA baseball was not included. Having that travel schedule for a deeper roster of players was really not manageable during a pandemic. So we sat this year out, but we didn't sit on the sidelines. We took the year to evaluate the business, really create a new battle plan, dig into some of the areas where we always wish we had more time. When you work in baseball, it's a 6-month season. From April to September, 70 home games. So that's 70 events in that time span. And then you've got 6 months off, and then you do it all again. And I don't mean 6 months off like you're not at work. I mean 6 months off of like producing those events.
Right.
So as much as we try to business plan for 3 years down the road, it's really challenging to evaluate the performance of 1 year within a short timeline, go through your whole sales cycle and then execute again. So the silver lining of the pandemic was we got a year off to really dig into the things that we wanted to improve and really create some new guidelines for the business that ultimately will make us successful in the long term.
And that is an opportunity there, right? That's time that you wouldn't necessarily have had in a typical year, even though it feels so different, and it is so different from a business standpoint, especially when it comes to the books and that side of the business. But what did you learn? Did you make any major changes, or did you have any major aha moments with the time this year?
We did. We had been talking for a long time about what is the guest experience like at a Reno Aces game. It's really important to us. We consider ourselves the front door of our community. We're open for everybody. Our job is to create incredible experiences for people around the game of baseball. And this pandemic allowed us to rewrite that entire guest services guide and create the WOW experience, which is the win our way, which is really important. That O for OUR,
Right.
win our way, and defining what it meant to win our way, and create the training pipelines for full-time staff, seasonal staff, and what it would look like and what the consistency would be like for attending those games. So that was one major accomplishment we undertook. We also dove into a lot of data for our corporate partnerships. So our sponsorships within the ballpark, there was so much evaluation on current and former partners, what those investments look like, pricing structures, greater opportunities in the future. And so we really, we got organized,
Right.
Two, we got into the data, which is my favorite thing, that the data is going to lead you to the answer.
Absolutely.
And three, we've created a better structure with consistency, another one of my favorite words, among our sales reps for the future.
Good. Good. And now, are you seeing that 2021 budgets have been released? Have you seen a change just really within the past week or so of people having more interest or the phone ringing more so with some actual movement on the spend?
Yeah, I mean, it's evident that we miss baseball, we miss gathering, we miss being together. I mean, people know what my job is, so it's easy for them to tell me how much they miss a beer and a hot dog. Conversation that I have every day. You know, it's not a summer in Reno without attending an Aces game. So the appetite for baseball and for our type of entertainment is here. Unfortunately, the virus is still in the driver's seat. So what we've done is created some left and right limits for what it's going to look like to be a partner in 2021. We feel we're pretty progressive, and we want our partners' marketing dollars to be spent against performance rather than a set dollar value and then a future make good. While that model might work better for our books, we're in this for the long term, and we have to do right by our partners. And that's not taking money that we don't feel we've earned.
Right. Right. That's a wonderful approach to it. A very fair win-win, kind of work together. That's a partnership, right?
Exactly.
So tell me, you're a natural leader. And I know that women in the baseball world, in the sports world, have come to you as a mentor to seek advice, to learn from you. Tell us about the podcast. And I know a lot of that went into sparking the podcast. So tell us how you really got that started and got that going.
Yeah. So I've got sort of three goals in my career. One is kicking butt at my job, because if I don't do great work, then the opportunity isn't open for the next woman. So that's priority number one. Number two is leading my staff to the success. I want them to do great work, and also they're kind of my legacy when they leave me to go do the next great thing.
Right.
What they say about their time and their development working under me also helps the next female leader. And so the third piece is leading women forward. And I've been fortunate in the last year or so pre-pandemic to get my toe into speaking. And it was a lot of fun to get on stage and speak, but then get off stage and connect to women one-to-one and answer questions and help them unlock the keys to the next step in their career. And I had some great things lined up for 2020 that were ultimately canceled when we couldn't travel. And I think that forced pivot was a good thing, because I'm sure it would have been easy for me to settle into the comfort of doing some speaking gigs, feeling like maybe that's enough. But I had an interest in doing more. And so, like you, we both listened to a similar podcast, and Don't Keep Your Day Job by Kathy Heller. And the interesting thing is, like, her message and her podcast is like about really creative stuff and about music and a lot of art. And me and you are both, I'm sports and we're both business.
Right.
So it's interesting that we both wound up in this program. And the program for me, it was about developing this passion of leading women forward. And one of the units was about a podcast, which had been burning in my brain for a while. But I thought, oh, gosh, do I have the time for this? I don't know how to do it. How much work is it? And she sort of reveals like the cheat sheet to getting it up and running.
Right.
And it was a late Sunday night was usually when I was doing my homework for this course. And gosh, it was like almost midnight, and I was in my office, and the term, or the three words, leadership is female, popped in my head. And I was just like, I'm going for it. Like that's my message. That's my mission, is
I love
to
it.
showcase female leaders. And so what if I launched a podcast where I interviewed successful women in sports? I talked to them about, who they are and what they did. What's a tipping point in their career? What's the biggest hurdle? What's the advice they have for women? If I was my 20-something-year-old self again, listening to that, gosh, how much better could I be even the next day at work after hearing from those women? And growing up, I didn't really have a lot of female mentors to look up to or be guiding light in my career. And so that's another thing that I talk about is, if you don't have a woman in your life that you can have coffee with or connect with on the phone on a regular cadence to help you in your career, you can engage in mentorship through admiration. We have so much availability on podcasts, on LinkedIn, on Instagram or Facebook, where people are like laying out these keys to success for you. All you have to do is follow along. And so that was a little bit also about what the podcast was about, is like, maybe you can't have coffee with this woman, but you can hear her talk about how she made it to where she is in 35 minutes, which is probably your commute, and level up. So that's where the podcast came from. And it's been a joy to work on.
It's so true. And you're right. It's that instant information, those little gold nuggets that just kind of give you a little bit more fuel in your day or help you keep going. And you can get that. That's why you and I listen to podcasts, right? And it is a big goal of ours to really make sure that entrepreneurs, women leaders in sports are really out there and feeling like they aren't alone, like they can do it. And the stories, people learn through stories. They really do. They learn by hearing stories, and it just makes them better. So tell us about some of your guests.
Yeah, sure. So as you were talking about learning through stories, I'm thinking about Allison Eddy, who works for the NHL league office in marketing partnerships. And she was telling me this story about her first interview. And she was still in college. She was on vacation with her friends in South Georgia at her grandparents' condo when a company in Florida contacted her and was interested in bringing her in for an interview, and they wanted to do it in the next few days. Wow. And so she grabbed a new suit, put it in a backpack, got on a Greyhound bus, took that Greyhound bus a couple hours south to Florida, changed into her suit in a Starbucks bathroom, nailed the interview, and got the job. It was her first job in sports. And I'll never forget that story, because she did what she had to do. I mean, sometimes it's not on our own time. Like, things don't line up perfectly at the exact time when we are perfectly prepared or ready. You got to turn your game face on when it's time. And she did.
Awesome.
And one other story that she told as well was about how she got her current job through networking. She found the opportunity with the NHL, and her preparation story was so impressive. Sometimes we put so much work into just getting the interview. You're applying, you're customizing your resume, you're writing these cover letters. It's like, it feels like this endless cycle of application, and you feel this relief when you get the interview. But that's just the start. Like, you got to bring your A+ game when you show up.
Right.
And she spent probably a week preparing. She created an entire presentation. She was ready to go. Lots of nights where she was up, very, very late getting ready. And the way she tells the story, it just, it really resonated with me, and hopefully my listeners, that the interview that's step one, not landing the interview, and make sure that you are prepared. And that might require hours and hours and hours of work to make sure that you're ready to go.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it makes you stand out. I coach a lot of career transition people, especially now. And yes, the resume and the cover letter will get you so far, but some CEOs glance at it. Maybe they don't even glance at it. It's a check plus, a pass, fail, what have you. And really working on those things that set you apart, personality assessments, saying that you have invested in your past and how you've invested in your personal growth, your leadership growth, illustrating all of those things in interviews is paramount. So that's great. I can't wait I haven't listened to that one. So I need to make sure I listen to that one.
Yes.
So let's talk about motherhood and working as a mom. You and I have that in common. In fact, we both have a husband named Sean and we both have 2 boys.
We do.
Which is so funny. And Sean spelled the right way, right? Or
yes.
their way, the SHAWN.
Yes.
So we put that together, and the boys are 3 and 6.
Yep.
Your boys. My boys are 8 and 10. So give some tips out there to the working mamas, the working daddies, the working parents out there that are really trying to make it happen, working maybe multiple different outlets for their growth, for the growth of their community, and being a solid leader. Any tips in mind?
Of course. Well, first I want to say it's not easy. It's not easy. It's hard. It's really hard, but it's so worth it. And we know that if you're a mom or a dad, you know how worth it is. But I don't want my tips to be misconstrued as she makes it sound so easy, because it's hard. It's really hard. But I've got a couple that I really like. And the first one is eyes up, phones down. And what I mean by that, and when I deploy that, is those magical hours between the end of my workday, which I end between 5 and 5:30, and my kids go to bed at 8 o'clock. And I try my hardest every day to not pick up my phone during that time. It's only 2.5 hours. Sometimes it's only 2 hours, depending on what we've got going on that night. And I just don't want my boys to see their mom just with her eyes on her phone constantly.
Right.
And yes, I do pick my phone back up after they go to bed. And sometimes I open my laptop and I've got a couple more hours of things to do, but I want to give my kids that time and that space and energy to connect with me, because the mornings are really crazy as we're trying to get out of the house, and don't really get to spend a lot of time with them in the morning time. So trying to give them those couple hours in the evening is really important to me.
I love that.
So eyes up, phones down. And then the other thing is being really intentional with my day. I like to use a planner where I chart out what I'm going to do every hour, every half hour of the day. And I have the most clarity in what that looks like first thing in the morning. So I will get up a little earlier, review my day's schedule, plot out the things that I have already had in my schedule, and then also plot out the things that I need to accomplish. And try to be really honest with myself. If my to-do list is 25 things, there's not a chance in the world I'm finishing that by 5 o'clock.
Right.
So what are the top few priorities, things that only I can do that are really important for the business, and getting those done. And then I also have a personal list, which usually can only include one item because there's not enough time for more. But if I can do one thing each day, I'm staying on top of the family game as well. I'd be making plans for the weekend. It might be, ordering something for my kid, or signing them up for a sport, or doing something for school. But just being realistic with the time you have in your day, being intentional with how you plan it, has really helped me. Because there was definitely a time in my life where I woke up at the very last moment possible so I could get the maximum amount of sleep. Right. I was rushing into my office, checking my calendar on the way in, completely unprepared. And boy, that was a stressful way to live. So that shift in preparing for the day has, I think, helped me physically, emotionally, probably my blood pressure.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Is there a third tip? Did you say 3 things?
A third tip. Do I have 3 things?
Did you say 3? I don't know if you said 3. I don't
know. I usually have a number. I'm real big on the bullet points, but
Those are good.
I got so into that schedule explanation
I
that
know. I
I've really
know.
forgotten.
Well, and these are such amazing times, like you said, to take a pause. You had a big transition this year in in your day to day, and you completely took advantage of it and really restructured, repositioned, and used it as a gift to work with your sponsorships and your partners and to do some redevelopment with that. So that's awesome. And those tips are just so amazing. So what do you want for the podcast? What's your big vision there?
Yeah. I did think of the third one, and let me drop
I had
that.
a feeling there was three.
Yes. My good friend and colleague in the sports industry, Jenna,
Okay.
says if it's not a hell yes, it's a no.
Okay.
And
Love that.
I can't tell you how many times I think about that, because had a problem in my history saying no to opportunities or requests. And as working women, busy moms, kids who are our priority, you can't say yes to everything. So that tip has been very, very helpful for me.
That's a good one. I'm so glad you remembered that, because
Yes.
I'm going to use that. I
Yes.
like to say yes to everything, and I can't, and it's hard. So if it's not a hell yes, it's a no.
Yep.
That's awesome.
Yep. So the
You can
podcast.
turn that into a quote.
Yeah, I know. You should write it on our wall.
That's right. It's so
in that
true.
pretty script.
Well, obviously the podcast was a hell yes for you.
Yes, it was.
So what's to come?
Yeah, a podcast was a hell yes. And it's a lot of work, I'll tell you that. Between scheduling the interviews, doing the interviews, editing the interviews, getting them out there. I have a bigger vision for Leadership is Female and the Leadership is Female brand. And it's carving out more time to focus on that. I want to, a couple big themes come up in every interview. One is asking for a promotion. Okay. And I have endless amount of tips and a roadmap for exactly how to do that successfully. And so next steps are going to be creating a digital course where I can walk women through, for a small investment. You can make big money from your day job. So that is the next part of the iteration. Another topic that comes up all the time: confidence, courage, bravery. So I'm still ruminating about how do you teach that? How do you help women feel more empowered? One of the solutions, I think, is greater community. Because when we all get together and support each other, you get that fuel to show up, greater and more powerful the next day, especially when you're talking about the hard topics with another woman who's going through something similar. They can share advice. It makes it easier for you. So thinking about that. I'm also thinking about, I just love the Leadership is Female, just the statement. And so potentially looking at some gear in the future. It's another power up for a woman to, wear that brand, whether it's a shirt or a lapel pin or, your favorite pen. Yes, Leadership is Female and I can do this. Just looking for those cues in life to help you show up better, be the best that you can be, and know that you have a lot of women around you cheering for you.
Absolutely. I work with a lot of service-based companies and specifically talking about lawyers and accountants and bankers and women in that space. And that is those themes are the same there. Asking for a promotion, and by the time they think about it or they do speak up, the job is gone. And it literally, this was something that came up this week. And they said to me, Annette, I thought that they knew that I wanted it. Why wasn't I in the running? How did they not know that I really wanted that position? And it was really just a lot of those verbal statements and a lot of different things that it sounds like are all in your kind of little go-to toolbox there that probably seem very, very obvious to some, but may not be obvious to others. And coaching them through that, I think, is just priceless. So it's something that is across the board, really, not just in sports.
No, I know it's universal. And so many times we're working with our head down. We think we've identified the most important project, and we're working and working and working, and we present these great results, and like maybe it wasn't even important to your boss in the first place, right? Same thing about the promotions. Like, we're so busy supporting our team and celebrating their success, we forget to sing our own praises.
Right.
You think your hand is raised, but maybe it's not. You haven't made your intentions clear on how you want to progress in the company and how you can contribute in the future. So, showing up, speaking up, and really having the tools and the confidence to do that is really important. And I hope that I can bring that in the future.
Well, and you do, you just have such an amazing presence, and just you just have this, you're just radiant, you just have this beautiful spirit about you. And I think that is something that women really need to be coached on as well. Like, you don't need to show up all high and mighty saying, oh, this is me, I deserve this job, and blah, 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 blah. And sometimes women will go through that, not knowing how they need to be or what they need to be, right? There's a delicate way, there's an art in how to approach it, right?
Yeah, no, I agree with you. And I saw you had sent me a question about introvert versus extrovert, and wanted to talk about that a little bit, because when I was in high school, I couldn't even order a pizza over the phone. I mean, I was so painfully shy. I had success on the sports field, but as far as speaking up, I was really, really bad at that. And I would have called myself an introvert back in the day, and I would call myself an extrovert today, because I pushed myself, knowing that the things that I wanted in life, I needed to get out of my own comfort zone in order to make those happen and get comfortable being uncomfortable. I mean, I can remember some of the first networking events I was at in college, sweaty through my, cheap suit.
Right. Your Casper.
And yes, exactly. And Taylor Loft, and now I'm like on the other side, right? Receiving those resumes. You got to go through the hard stuff before you get to do some of the stuff that you really want to, or that you enjoy. And so I worked really hard on that. And one of the ways that I accomplished that goal was listening, again, through podcasts, to people that I really admire, and hearing the way that they spoke, or they could articulate their goals or lay out tips for people, their presentation. I studied and I practiced, and that's how I was able to present the way I do today. It did not come naturally. It took a lot of work.
Well, you do it so well. And there are so many women out there in unique industries in the corporate world that are so highly creative, like yourself, starting and following their passion, developing different businesses on the side within, their main goal. And it's just amazing. I know that you're going to just keep on keeping on and just spark so many amazing things that happen from your podcast and beyond.
Thank you.
Where can we find you? Where can we support you? I love your Instagram account, and share your website and everything.
Yeah. So everything's at Emily Jaenson, and my last name has a couple extra vowels in it. It's Jaenson. So at Emily Jaenson on Instagram. My website is emilyjaenson.com, where you can sign up for my email list. I launched the podcast episodes there, and also lay down some tips from my own experiences and what's been going on that week. So it's kind of fun to be a part of. and of course on LinkedIn as well.
Great.
So the best professional network I think out there, LinkedIn, where you can see all the business things, but I think Instagram is fun because it gives you a greater peek into the whole person, rather than just business specific.
Right. Absolutely. Any big asks that we can help you with?
Just support with the podcast. If you find an episode you like, share it. It's all about women helping women. And if you found something valuable in what you listened to or heard, who can you share that with today? It feels really good to be thought of. I love when people send things to me and they're thinking of me. If they heard a great business tip and thought of my name, I'm honored to receive that referral. So think about doing that. Obviously rate it, like it, share it, and that'll help lead the next woman forward. So that would be a great way to help.
Absolutely. I have two close friends in mind that are in the sports, on the football side of things, that I'm going to forward it to so that they can share it with their network. So Emily Jaenson, you are wonderful. Leadership is female, and you are just so amazing. Keep being you and keep evolving. And thank you so, so much for being here today.
Thanks, Annette. It was my absolute pleasure.
That's great. I'll talk to you soon.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.
Wow. What an episode. Did you learn something new? I hope so. I am so happy you were able to be here with us today. I'd love to hear from you. Leave me a review and I will be sure to read it and respond to you. Also, if you'd like to email me, my email address is yourock@ievolveconsulting.com. Hit subscribe, and every Tuesday you'll get notification when the next episode drops. We really have some amazing interviews and tips in the future. Anything you need, I'm here for you. I want you to keep your momentum. I want to help you stay accountable. I want you to stay inspired. I want you to evolve. So please let me know what you need, and I'd love to hear from you. Take care until next time.